My parents let my sister steal my Black Friday bonus for her vacation, so I cut them off completely, and now they're desperate to reconnect. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and I was raised to believe that family comes first, except it always felt like I came last. I grew up in a modest, two-bedroom house with peeling wallpaper and a leaky kitchen faucet that never got fixed. My parents always said we didn't have much, but what we lacked in money, we made up for in love. I believed them for a while. But the math of love in my family never quite added up. My little sister Kayla was born when I was 6. The moment she arrived, my role shifted from child to caretaker. While she got bedtime stories and bubble baths, I was being told to be the big boy, to let her have the last cookie, the front seat, the good crayons. If I complained, my mom would say, "You're older. You're supposed to know better." That line became a script. Every time Kayla broke something, lied about something, or stirred up chaos, I was the one held accountable. "Why didn't you stop her?" "She looks up to you. Don't make her cry." It didn't matter if she actually started it. I was the one expected to clean it up. By the time I was in high school, I was juggling part-time jobs and tutoring while Kayla was being chauffeured to dance recitals and sleepovers. My parents framed it like fairness. She needs experiences too. You're the strong one, so I swallowed it. Again and again, college came and I paid my own way. I worked night shifts at the campus gym, lived on instant noodles, skipped spring breaks. Meanwhile, Kayla posted bikini pics from Cancun with the caption, "Thanks, Mom and Dad. Graduation trip of a lifetime." I scrolled through those pictures from my tiny dorm room, working overtime. And I remember thinking, so this is what family first really means. But I hadn't even hit my limit yet. That came later. Much later. This year, I pulled 62 hours straight at work during Black Friday. Retail hell. But I didn't complain. I needed the bonus. I work at a tech store inside one of those massive chain retailers. The kind of place where people camp outside in freezing weather just to stampede in for a flat screen. By 4 a.m., the doors flew open like a riot. I saw an old lady get elbowed in the jaw for a PS5 bundle. A guy threatened to sue me because the headphones he wanted were sold out. Another tried to bribe me with vape cartridges if I held back a speaker for him. My legs ached. My voice was hoarse. One guy threw his coffee at me when I told him we were out of iPads. I just wiped it off and kept scanning items. Because there was this one dangling carrot. Our manager promised that anyone who worked double shifts from Thursday night through Sunday would receive a $2,000 bonus. Cash. For someone like me, that wasn't just extra. That was everything. I daydreamed about that bonus during my 10-minute bathroom breaks. I planned a vacation, just a weekend away, maybe a cabin or a beachside motel. Somewhere I could turn my phone off and just exist. No Kayla, no chaos, just peace. When it was all over, I walked out of the store Sunday night, dazed, sore, and soaked in sweat. But I felt something rare, pride. I'd earned it. Every miserable second. I called my mom on the walk to the bus stop. I told her I survived the shift, told her about the bonus. There was a pause on the line, just long enough to feel weird. Then she said, "Oh, wow. That's great, honey." Flat, detached, almost like she already knew. I brushed it off. I didn't realize that was the beginning of something far worse. A week later, my mom called me. Her voice was syrupy sweet, and my stomach dropped instantly. She only uses that tone when she wants something. The kind of sugar that coats a knife. She started with small talk, asked how work was if I'd been eating properly. Then she shifted gears with that rehearsed sigh. "Kayla's been really down lately," she said. "She's been going through so much, you know?" I blinked. Kayla's most recent trauma was her nail tech moving cities. Then came the pitch. She really just needs a break, a reset. Maybe you could help her out a little. I already knew where this was going. I said carefully, "Help her out how?" "Well," my mom cooed, "I was thinking, maybe just a small part of your bonus. She's been looking at flights, nothing fancy. Just a quick getaway. You know how much she looks up to you," that line. "You know how much she looks up to you?" Like I owed her something because she admired me. I told her I'd already booked a trip for myself. Something small but non-refundable. I could hear the switch flip. "Wow," she said, flat, cold. "I just thought you'd care more, that's all. Kayla's had it rough lately and you're out here hoarding money like a stranger." "I'm not hoarding anything," I said, trying to stay calm. "I worked for that bonus. I earned it. I'm just Tired. Silence. Then, fine. Enjoy your little vacation. Click. No goodbye. No warmth, just that tone. Like I'd failed a test I didn't know I was taking. I stared at my phone for a full minute. Something about that call felt off. Like she already had a plan. Like I'd just made it harder. But not impossible. I logged into my account and nearly threw up. The bonus deposit was gone. Transferred out. To a familiar name. It was a Monday morning, and I was checking to see if the funds had cleared. I blinked at the screen, then stared harder. A $2,000 transfer, cleared 2 days ago, sent directly to an old joint account I hadn't touched in years. One my parents had access to back when I was in college and needed help managing rent and groceries. I felt my whole body go hot. My ears rang. I clicked into the account. It was still active, still under my name, but linked to my mom's email. I called her immediately, hands shaking. She picked up like nothing was wrong. "Hey, sweetie. Why is $2,000 missing from my account?" I asked, silence, then a casual, "Oh, that. Yeah, we just borrowed it." Kayla really needed to lock in a flight before the price went up. "You what?" "You stole it," I snapped. "You had no right." "Calm down," she interrupted. "It's just money and she really needed this. You weren't going to do anything major with it, right?" I couldn't breathe. My pulse hammered in my throat. "I worked 60 hours for that bonus," I said. "You went behind my back," my dad's voice chimed in the background. "Son, it's not a big deal. We'll pay you back eventually. You're being dramatic. Dramatic, like I hadn't poured my body and sanity into those shifts. Like Kayla's vacation took priority over my right to breathe." I hung up mid-sentence. I was shaking, and for the first time in years I felt something dark and unfamiliar settle in my chest. I was done playing the obedient son. That night, I made the mistake of checking Kayla's Instagram. And that was the final punch to the gut. There she was, standing on a cliff in Santorini, the Aegean Sea glowing behind her like a damn screensaver. She was holding a glass of champagne, wearing designer sunglasses I knew she couldn't afford, smiling like she didn't have a care in the world. The caption? "Grind culture is toxic. Self-care is essential. Greece blessed." My hands actually trembled. I scrolled down, photo after photo. Infinity pools, sunset dinners, hashtags about manifesting abundance. Meanwhile, I was still nursing the bruise on my wrist from carrying 30-pound boxes during Black Friday. The anger boiled over, and before I could stop myself, I commented, "You're welcome, I guess." 5 minutes later, the comment vanished. 10 minutes later, I was blocked. That was when my phone buzzed. Mom. A text. "Why would you embarrass your sister like that? You're ruining her peace." I just stared at it. My peace didn't matter. My exhaustion didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was Kayla's comfort. Then another message. "You really need to grow up. Money comes and goes, but family is forever." Family. The word felt poisonous. I sat there in my dim apartment, surrounded by unpacked boxes from my last move, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound. My throat tightened, and for the first time in a long while, I broke. Not loud, not dramatic, just silent tears slipping down as I realized something I should have known all along. No matter how hard I worked, no matter what I gave, my effort was invisible. My worth only existed when it served them, and that realization, it cracked something I didn't know could break. I drove to their house to talk in person. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd see how much this hurt. It was a long drive, and I spent most of it rehearsing what I'd say. Not yelling, not accusing, just explaining. I wanted them to understand that it wasn't just about the money. It was about trust. About never feeling like I mattered in this family, unless I was giving something up. I knocked on the front door, heart pounding. Mom answered, surprised but not warm. "Oh, you didn't say you were coming." We sat in the living room, same faded couch, same smell of lavender air freshener trying to cover up old dust. I started slow. I told them how I felt, how gutted I was that they would steal from me, how I worked for that bonus like my life depended on it. My mom blinked at me, then crossed her arms. "Why are you being so dramatic?" I stared at her, waiting for the joke. It never came. My dad chimed in, voice firm. "You're a man. Act like one. It was $2,000, not your life savings." I felt my jaw tighten, and then Kayla walked in, barefoot and smug, sipping iced coffee like she was visiting a spa. She looked at me and grinned. God, you're still mad about that? You work retail, not save lives. That was it. The moment everything crystallized, there was no misunderstanding, no crossed wires. Just entitlement. Cold, calculated entitlement. They didn't feel bad because they didn't believe they did anything wrong. I looked around that house, the one I once called home, and felt like a stranger, and I knew nothing I said would matter here. So I stood up, and I left. But not before deciding. This would be the last time I ever begged them to care. I wasn't supposed to see it. But when my sister forgot to log out on my old tablet, I saw everything. The tablet had been sitting in a drawer in my closet since college. Cracked screen, glitchy battery, but still functional. I only pulled it out because my phone was charging and I needed to check an email. When I opened the messaging app, I saw her name at the top corner. Logged in. Out of curiosity, or maybe something darker, I clicked into her chat list. That's when I found it. A family group chat. Titled Team Kayla. I wasn't in it. Of course I wasn't. The last 100 messages were a masterclass in betrayal. Screenshots of my Instagram stories with captions like, "He's such a drama queen," and "Retail warrior meltdown incoming." They had planned the entire bonus theft 2 weeks in advance. My mom had texted, "Just ask him nicely first. If he says no, we'll move it ourselves." "It's for her mental health," Kayla replied with a selfie and the words, "Manifesting this trip. Universe, handle my broke brother." Even cousins I hadn't spoken to in years chimed in, laughing, piling on. Then I saw a message from my dad, simple, chilling. Let him whine. Blood is thicker, they knew. They all knew. And they didn't care. I dropped the tablet onto my bed like it had burned me, my vision blurred with rage, with humiliation, with a grief I didn't have words for. I thought I was just the afterthought, the forgotten one, but no, they remembered me. They just chose to use me. And that's when something inside me finally snapped. The obedient son, dead. The strong one they could always count on, gone. From that moment on, I wasn't part of that family anymore. I blocked them all, deleted every chat. I didn't scream. I didn't explain, I just vanished. No dramatic goodbye. No final warning. I went full ghost mode before they even realized what was happening. The first thing I did was call my bank and close the shared account. Moved every cent to a new credit union under a different email, new passwords, new everything. I even set up 2-factor authentication. Then I took a long, hard look at the vacation I had planned, canceled it. Not out of spite, just I didn't want it anymore. The taste of it was bitter. I called in sick for the rest of the week. Told my manager I needed time. He didn't ask questions, just said, "Take care of yourself, man." Those 5 words hit harder than anything my family had said in years. And then I shut the world out. My phone buzzed constantly for the next 2 days. Calls from mom, dad, texts from Kayla, even DMs from cousins I hadn't heard from in years. They started with guilt. "You're blowing this out of proportion." Then came the denial. We were just trying to help Kayla heal. Then the threats. "You'll regret turning your back on family." I ignored every single one. I turned off notifications. I let the silence stretch. And for the first time in my life, it didn't feel like punishment. It felt like power. No more justifying my anger. No more swallowing disrespect. They'd spent years speaking over me, dismissing me, draining me now. They could scream into the void all they wanted. I wasn't listening anymore. A mutual friend DM'd me. "Dude, Kayla got robbed in Mykonos." I didn't reply. But I won't lie, I smiled. Apparently, her picture-perfect healing trip didn't go as planned. Her purse was stolen right off the beach. Passport, credit cards, cash, gone. She had no idea what to do and nowhere to turn. She messaged the mutual friend crying that the Greek authorities weren't helpful, that the embassy wouldn't expedite anything without a local police report, and that she had never felt more abandoned. Oh, the irony. I didn't respond. But I watched from the sidelines as the story unfolded like karma finally showing up with receipts. My mom tried to reach me first. A voicemail, chipper but urgent. "Hey, sweetie, just wondering if you could send your sister a little emergency money? Just enough for a flight home, she's really scared." Then came Dad. "This isn't about the bonus anymore. It's about family. Kayla's in real danger." I could practically hear the guilt bait wriggling on the hook. But I didn't bite. Because here's the truth. They used me to fund her escape from responsibility. And now that the fantasy was cracking, they came running, like I was the safety net they set on fire and expected to still catch them. I let the messages pile up. I turned off my phone and slipped it into a drawer. No part of me felt cruel. No part of me felt guilty. I felt calm. Not because Kayla suffered, but because I didn't rush in to fix it. For once in my life, I let someone else sit in the consequences, and it felt like the first adult decision I'd ever made for myself. I was called selfish, bitter, ungrateful, all by the people I used to bend over backwards for. It started small. Texts from extended family members I hadn't heard from in months. Aunt Lena messaged me. "I know things have been tense, but letting Kayla suffer like this, that's not who you are." Uncle Ray followed up with, "Your mom is really worried. You should talk to someone, kiddo. Maybe a counselor." That one stung. Not because he said it, but because it was clear my parents were spinning a story. The story? That I was having some kind of breakdown. That I'd snapped over a misunderstanding. That I was isolating myself from family due to stress and paranoia. They didn't just tell relatives. They told neighbors. They told my godparents. They even told people I'd never met. One of my coworkers pulled me aside and asked, "Hey, is everything okay at home? Your mom came by the store looking for you." Seemed real worried. I laughed, then realized he wasn't joking. The cherry on top? A Facebook status from my mom that read, "It's heartbreaking when the people you raised forget who stood by them the most. But God sees. Blood is blood." It had 100 likes and vague comments like, "Stay strong, mama," and "Kids these days, SMH." I didn't respond. Not once, because I knew that's what they wanted. A reaction. A meltdown they could point to and say, "See? We told you he's unstable." But I held the line. Silence was my armor now. Let them gossip. Let them guess. For the first time, I wasn't playing their game. And nothing scared them more than my refusal to defend myself. It was Christmas Eve. No lights, no calls, no warmth. Just me and a frozen dinner. I sat alone at my tiny kitchen table, a plastic fork in one hand and a microwave turkey tray steaming in front of me. No tree, no music. Just the soft hum of the fridge and the hollow silence of a one-bedroom apartment that didn't even smell like cinnamon or pine. For the first time, the weight of what I'd done sank in. I had cut myself off completely, and I started to wonder, did I overreact? Was I too cold? Too final? That's the thing about silence. It leaves room for doubt. I thought back to childhood. I remembered the year I gave up my birthday party so Kayla wouldn't throw a fit. I remembered letting her blow out my candles just this once, then every year after that. I remembered skipping a college trip to help my mom while Kayla partied in Miami. I remembered the lies I took the fall for, the times I'd bite my tongue while they blamed me. The quiet walk to my room after they said, "You're the older one. Act like it," and I broke, not with rage. Not with the kind of explosive anger I used to imagine in fantasies where I finally stood up for myself. No, this was quieter, heavier. Tears fell, and I didn't wipe them away. I just let myself feel it, the grief of being the overlooked one, the weight of always being the strong one, the bitter sting of realizing I was never really seen, only used. But somewhere in that quiet ache, something shifted. For once, I wasn't pushing it down. I wasn't brushing it off or telling myself to get over it. I was sitting in it, feeling it, owning it, and strangely, that pain felt more honest than any Christmas I'd ever had. I thought I was about to be fired. Instead, he handed me a plane ticket. It was the day after Christmas. I showed up to work feeling like a ghost, exhausted, hollowed out. I hadn't slept much. My eyes were puffy, and I'd stopped pretending I wasn't unraveling. I expected a write-up for looking like hell, or maybe a lecture about customer service. But halfway through my shift, my manager, Joel, tapped me on the shoulder. "Hey, got a sec?" I followed him to the back office, bracing for bad news. He shut the door, looked me in the eye, and said, "You've been running on fumes for weeks." "We all see it." "We've all seen you." I didn't know what to say. My throat tightened. Then he reached into his desk drawer and pulled out an envelope. Inside was a printed voucher for a 5-day solo stay at a quiet beachside resort 3 hours up the coast. "Fully paid." I blinked at him. He smiled and said, "The staff pitched in. After Black Friday, you deserved more than a handshake. So, go. It's all covered." "Just breathe." I broke down right there. Couldn't help it. These weren't people who raised me. They weren't bound to me by blood. They didn't owe me a thing. But somehow, they saw me. They saw my effort, my exhaustion, my humanity, and in that moment, the weight of all those years spent chasing scraps of validation from my family hit me like a wave. Strangers had given me what my own parents never could: acknowledgement. Joel clapped me on the shoulder and said, "Don't come back till you remember you matter." And for the first time, I believed that maybe I did. 2 days before my flight, my mom showed up at work, crying. My dad followed. I knew it was fake. I was stocking headphones near the back wall when I heard my name echo across the store. I turned and saw her. Messy hair, red eyes, arms already stretched for a hug like this was some movie reunion. My father trailed behind her, looking stiff like someone forced him into it. I froze. My coworkers looked at me like, "What the hell is going on?" She rushed over, grabbing my arm. "Baby, please. We miss you. Kayla's home and she's not doing well. She's been crying for days. She knows she messed up." My dad added, "We didn't come to fight. We just want our family back. It's been hard without you." That word again, family. I gently peeled her hand off my jacket. My voice didn't shake. I didn't raise it. I just said the truth. "You didn't lose a son. Pause. You threw him away." Silence swallowed the store. Even the register beeped softer. My mom blinked like I'd slapped her. My dad looked like he wanted to respond, but he didn't. Maybe he couldn't. Behind me, Joel stood watching. So did 2 coworkers near the register. No one moved. No one spoke. I straightened my name badge, adjusted my sleeves, and turned my back to them. I walked straight past the aisle, past the customers, past the P80. I didn't look back because there was nothing behind me worth seeing. Let them cry. Let them beg. Let them miss what they threw away. My life was finally about to begin, and it wouldn't include them. She texted me an apology. I almost softened until I read the second part. "Can you co-sign my car?" It came the night before my flight. I was packing light, just a carry-on and a hoodie, when my phone buzzed. I nearly ignored it, but the preview said, "I know I don't deserve your time, but..." It was Kayla. The message was long, too long. She said she'd been doing a lot of thinking, that she realized how much she took me for granted, how lost she felt without her big brother around. She even wrote, "You were the only one in this family who ever showed up for me." For a second, it got to me. I stared at the screen longer than I should have. My throat tightened. A part of me wanted to believe it, and then I scrolled down. "I'm trying to get my life together and I found a decent car, but I need a co-signer. Can you help me?" Just this once? Just this once. She had never texted me without wanting something. Not once in her entire life. I let the silence stretch out between us like a bridge I had no intention of crossing. Then, with hands steadier than I expected, I held down the message and deleted the thread. I opened my contact list. Hit block. Confirmed. No more cycles. No more guilt. No more pretending that shared blood meant shared respect. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even about anger anymore. It was about peace, and peace, I was learning, meant closing doors that should have never been opened to begin with. I sat on a quiet beach in Portugal, phone off, heart full. For the first time, I chose myself. The waves rolled in like soft breathing. The sun melted against my skin, and for once, I wasn't rushing anywhere. I wasn't answering texts. I wasn't checking who needed what. I wasn't flinching every time my phone lit up, because it was off. Completely off. The resort was simple but perfect. White walls, warm wood, salt in the air. I spent the first day just walking, breathing, letting go. I journaled in the mornings, pouring thoughts out like poison being drained. I wrote letters I never intended to send. I forgave myself for not setting boundaries sooner, for trying so hard to be what they needed. And I met people, solo travelers, a retired couple from Denmark, a local barista who recommended the best hidden cliffside spot. Strangers who didn't know my history, who saw me only for who I was in that moment. Quiet, kind, present, and in all that stillness, I realized something that used to scare me. Peace isn't loud. It doesn't come in grand speeches or slammed doors or explosive endings. It's in the quiet boundaries. The ones you hold even when no one claps for you. I used to think I had to prove my worth. Fight to be seen, but I'm done proving. I am not the sum of what I give. I am not defined by who I sacrifice for. I'm whole, alone, and for the first time in my life. That's enough. I still get emails, messages, guilt-laced voicemails. But I've made my choice, and I'm finally at peace with it. They always come late at night. The emails usually start with, "We just want to talk," and end with, "Don't forget who raised you." My mom's voicemails are long, emotional. She talks about how the family isn't the same without me, how Kayla's not well, how they all miss me. But I've learned to listen between the words. What they really miss isn't me. It's the version of me who never said no, the version who kept giving without expecting anything in return, the son who filled in the gaps so they didn't have to grow. I've moved cities since Portugal. New job, new apartment, no shared accounts, no accidental run-ins. I started therapy. Hardest thing I've ever done, but the most necessary. I'm learning that boundaries aren't cruelty, that protecting my peace doesn't make me a bad son or a bad brother. It makes me someone who finally values himself. And if you're reading this, if your story sounds even a little like mine, let me say what no one ever said to me. You're not selfish for walking away. You're not weak for being tired. You're not broken for wanting more than crumbs. Sometimes survival doesn't look like a fight. Sometimes survival looks like silence and peace. Peace looks like deleting the message and not feeling guilty for it. They can beg. They can blame, but I'm not coming back. Not because I hate them, but because I finally love me.